What's going on, guys? The Kingdom Diplomat is back. Hey, before I get started, I gotta take a quick moment to take care of something. But go ahead and grab your notepad and pen, please, and go ahead and let your friends and family members and um, neighbors and know what's going on with Kingdom Diplomat. Okay. And we'll get started here in the next minute. All right. Within the next minute, guys. All right. All right, guys. I'm back. Hopefully, you guys can see. Let me see. Scoot over a little bit. Nope. Get over here. See if y'all can see a little bit. Hopefully, y'all can see that behind me. I'm going to get up and do a little bit of teaching here very shortly. So, all right. I hope you guys are having a great. And sorry, I need to have my theme music. I need to get that together. My brand of a Kingdom citizen. But I hope you guys having a great Tuesday. Hopefully your Monday wasn't as bad. Believe you me, I used to work in corporate America, so I know Mondays were kind of tough. Coming from the weekend, with a little bit of freedom. But before I tried to get acclimated to the weekend, it was already time to get ready for the whole corporate work week, right? So, anyway, but that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about some situations, or more of the mindset to help you guys um, shift your mindset, okay, into the right arena of success. All right, success. Many of you know my background. If not, just you'll just look through some of my previous podcasts. You'll see my background and everything, and how far I've come. And I used to be mentored by some millionaires and multimillionaires for quite some time. Very successful people in business. Associating and still to a degree, associating myself with people who have um, you know, some areas of expertise, and I just try to add value to myself, right? Because if you don't value yourself, then you can't value anybody else, and that's one of the reasons, um, or should I say, it's one of the yeah, that's one of the reasons why families are the way they are, people are the way they are, kids are the way they are, dads, moms, family members, neighbors, governments. It all has to do with worth, value. Now, I mentioned this, I think last week or the week before that, the five most important things. I'm going to put that in the chat box that you need to know. Okay. Now, why is that very important? It's very simple. If you don't know these five vital questions, if you don't know them and you haven't answered them, then it doesn't matter how much money you have or don't have. It doesn't matter what your position is. it doesn't matter of anything, because I found out these five most vital questions that all mankind needs to know in order to be fulfilled, okay, in order to be successful. It's all encompassing, okay, and it encapsulates these five questions. There's a lot of people who have a lot of money, have a lot of material things, but they have a sucky life, right? They're poor relationships, poor health. They've activated a lot of laws of which they violate, the unseen laws of just taking care of people, taking care of themselves, and they got a lot of money, but nobody likes them. People hate them, right? And then you have people who are just kind of like in the middle, and don't get me wrong, there's people who have a lot of resources, who check the mark, right? Who knows these five questions, or at least knows two out of the five. Most people know about two questions out of five, maybe three, right? I didn't find out. I didn't realize it until later on in life. Okay, so, but these five vital questions, as I mentioned before, are very simple. Who? Um, let's see. Who am I? I would take notes with this. Why am I here? Put it in the chat box for you guys. So that's purpose, okay? Where am I from? What I can do. So where am I from? Where am I from? Not why, but where. That's origin, okay? Origin. Some people think they came from monkeys. So I didn't come from no monkey. Some people think they came from a fish. Some people just think they just fell out the sky. So that has a lot to do with the value, okay, and how you see yourself and how you treat other people, right? Because you can't give what you haven't got, okay? What can I do? And that's your gifts, right? Talents, abilities, and then also, where am I going? Where am I going? Okay? Question mark. So write that down right there, okay? So before I get into my quick lesson here about increasing your value from within, can I get a shout out of where some people are from? Anybody from Texas? What state that you're from? Also, if you're from a different country, you can put that in the chat box also too. Go ahead and put in there. Yeah, just where you're originally from or born, and that way we can kind of know what who we have out there. Okay, I told you guys that I'm from the Northeast CT, right? Connecticut, UConn Husky fan, no doubt about that, baby. We rock and roll. Not in football yet. We're coming. It's gonna take a while, but we're coming there. But basketball, men and women's, we rock out. So, but anyway, so that'd be great. All right, now, if this is your first time, please go ahead and hit the like button. And if you've been walking with me all this time, go ahead and hit the like button too, please. And go ahead and subscribe. And I encourage you, because I have a library of other things in there talking about different things. And again, I'm going to be talking not about my opinion, but I'm going to be delving into and talking about and expanding and expounding upon laws, okay? Because laws, land, air, water, laws, that's what law for. You have to know what the origin of law is, okay? Somebody type in the chat box origin, right? Beginning, origin. And the reason why I say that, you have to understand that if you don't know those five questions, and for instance, which I said before, if you don't know where you're from, how are you going to know where you're going, right? So that's most people, right? Look through history. I don't care what they've been tabbed, good, bad, or ugly, or indifferent. majority of the people that ever existed, 120 billion, I think that researchers say, since the first man, um, didn't know those five questions right there, and that's sad. And there's a reason why. Okay, now, so go ahead and subscribe if you're new, please do. This will help you receive my podcast, and also you can delve into my library, take some notes. A lot of them you're going to have to listen to two and three times, look up the words and everything like that. But the whole purpose of my podcast is to empower people, to help them, to free them, right? And I'm in a process. I'm not totally free. People's like, free, freedom. What do you mean freedom? I'm free. I can go wherever I want to do. Well, you really don't understand. There's a difference between freedom and liberty, right? Liberty, you got to ask somebody else, and free means free from dominion. But within that freedom of dominion, you still have to obey certain laws. Okay, you can't just go around violating unseen laws. See, the unseen laws created the natural laws. Okay, um, and so there was a very wealthy, actually the wealthiest king that ever lived, King Solomon. He said, "As a man thinketh, so is he, or he or she," meaning mankind, right? So what you are is because of how you think, and how you think is because of the information you've been fed. Okay. So that's why the first 10 years, 10 to 15 years of our life are integral, are vitally important, especially the first 7 years. Researchers say, I think, that your personality is formed within the first 7 years. And most of the world, unfortunately, have environments that they grow up with anxiety, they grow up with hatred, they grow up with bitterness, they grow up with unforgiveness. The first 7 years, this is the development of a child, right? And so that seed grows up into this adult, if they make it that far. And there's a lot of glass in the soil, so to speak, right? There's a lot of garbage in the soil. The soil is contaminated with titanium and aluminum and chemtrails, right? That's a true story. Chemtrails, you can look that up. Chemtrails. The soil is dug up, and the roots are haven't even taken, um, haven't even positioned themselves to grow, right? Because before you grow up, you got to go down first. Okay. So what are you talking about, Tyreek? It's very simple. Um, our environment, as a seed, as a child, most majority of people in the world produce what you see today in adults, right? You want to know why? A lot of times we may be in disarray ourselves, or our family, or neighbors, or the counties, the cities, the state, and everything like that. It's because of those first 7 years. We weren't in the right environment. So that's why I like talking about laws. Okay, and I mentioned this last week. The Bible is actually the law book. See, a lot of people don't even know that. It's not about Christianity. It's not about religion of any kind, right? But it's a law book. It's about a government. Okay, and governments are part of a country, right? They have to have territory. Okay, and then there has to be a head of state. Okay, so I'm not going to delve into that, but I just wanted to let you know about that. So the origin of all law again stands for what? Let me put that in the chat box. Okay, law stands for land, okay, air, water. Okay, land, air. Let's see if I can get that in there. And water. Okay, that's what law stands for. The origin of all law is the Bible. Oops. A legal document. Okay, this is very important. Okay, extremely important to changing from where you are to where you want to go in life. Okay, now it's not necessary, um, but because I know people who know nothing about the Bible and what it truly is, and some of them made quite a bit of money. Some of them have died spiritually poor. You know, but they've learned some laws that the King has created for mankind, the species of mankind, us, the royal species of mankind, to succeed in life. Okay, um, a government book. All right. So you should write that down, okay, in your notes. Okay. All right. So before I get into this topic, because this topic is going to be really straightforward, it's not going to be long at all. I know you guys like stories. I like telling stories. People like listening to stories because stories move us from the inside out, right? We're like a walking story. Okay. Our life is a story. I believe that every man, woman, and child has a best-selling book, at least by the time that they're 20, right? Some kids by the time they're 10, they've been through so much, right? Um, but anyway, okay. So there was, I don't know if you ever heard of this story, but this Jewish rabbi, he talked about these two sons and this dad, right? So this dad, he was a landowner, okay, and owned this property, and he had people that worked for him, and took care of the house, took care of the property, had a massive amount of acres, and he had two sons, right? And obviously he had an inheritance and a trust, and one of these sons, they call him the prodigal son, which means lavish, extravagant. Um, obviously didn't have a level of respect and honor for his dad, let alone his mom. But he decided, he was the second oldest. He decided that he just wanted to, he wanted to go see the world, right? And, teenager. And he was like, you know what? I mean, 18, 19 years old. He's like, hey, Pops, you know what? Just give me my inheritance now. So, according to the law that they grew up in that area, his dad cut him off his inheritance, okay, a piece of his inheritance. And guess what the young kid did? He left his home place that he grew up in, where he learned the principles of life. He learned about love. He learned about giving. He learned about caring. He learned about serving his fellow man. He learned about value. He had a moral compass, all that type of thing. And he threw that away and said, you know what? I want to do my own thing. Okay. So we've all been there with life. With life, right? Either we've done it before, want to do our own thing, we didn't want to listen to our parents, or perhaps you have some things going on with your kids, right? Or maybe you have a sibling, maybe you have a niece or nephew or whatever. Every family has been affected by this, right? So this kid, he goes out into the world, right? Goes into another part of a country, another country, and they have different laws, right? Well, unbeknownst to him, he didn't know that there was a famine. Okay. And famine in the Hebrew actually means financial famine, right? Not just, there's not enough water or food. That would be a financial famine also right there also too. But he went into that country and he spent it on gambling, only fantasy, right? So he was trying to get something for nothing. So he wasn't even a good gambler at all. Then he wasted on whores, right? So he was just sleeping around, right? Just having a good old time. He was drinking and just doing it all up, right? And so after months of doing that, guess what happened? He spent a lot of his inheritance, and that financial famine came through. So he didn't know anybody there. He had no family, no blood family there, right? And so what happened was he didn't know that financial famine was coming. That financial famine is coming. I want you to get that. A financial famine is coming. A worldwide financial famine is coming that the world has never seen. I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay. Um, I have very good sources. So anyway, so a famine came, and he was so far away, he didn't have any money to get back. Right. to where he came from, where he grew up with, right? With his dad, his brother, and all the people that worked for him to take care of the estate that they had, right? And so what happened was is that he had no choice. So he said, you know what, I need to work. Okay, I need to find a job or something. So he hired himself out, but he had to stay in the same pen as the pigs. Now, if anybody knows anything about pigs, pigs don't have pores. Okay, and because they don't have pores, they don't sweat, they don't get rid of the toxins, and they eat off the ground, right? A lot of this, yeah, you know what I'm saying. Look at hogs, right? It's even worse. But anyway, so they get parasites, and whatever you eat, you become, right? As far as physically, okay. They get these big long parasites. I've seen them; they're disgusting, right? If you ever done a parasite cleanse, you better do a parasite cleanse. Okay, that's the first thing you need to do. Second thing after that, you do a good parasite cleanse. Um, just look on IG. And by the way, I got my IG in there. Please follow me on IG. I appreciate that because I'm going to be doing some lives and switching over to Instagram. But they upped the threshold. The AI did to 1,000 followers. I think I got maybe I don't know, 50, 100 or something like that. So I really appreciate that. So I can get out of, I'm trying to get free out of this prison, right? Of YouTube. But anyway, that's probably a prison over there. At least it's bigger, right? My goal is to create a massive following worldwide. Why? Because the more people that we have free here and free, when I mean here, mentally, I'm talking about spiritually, and I'm also talking about physically, the more empowerment and the more things that you can pass along to your kids, right? So the things that were passed along to me, I'm passing along to you, right? In hopes that you apply them and increase yourself, right? Increase your value, right? From within. Okay, I'm about to get into that. All right. But please go to Instagram and follow me there. I really appreciate that. Okay, Kingdom Diplomat right here. All right. Now, so in closing, what happened was is that he was thinking in his mind, he was like, "Oh my gosh, man, I come from a wealthy background, and I never wanted for anything, and I just gave it all up for riotous living." Right. So my man was just sinning all over the place. Remember, the word sin is not a religious word; it means to rebel. Okay, it means to commit anarchy. Okay. Um, and you can't do that in a religion. It's impossible. Okay, so a kingdom is not a religion or a democratic republic. Right? I'm not going to divulge on that, or I'm not going to expound on that. Just go to my previous talks, and you'll see what I'm talking about there. Okay, now I hope you have ears to hear and eyes to see. All right, so he ends up saying, you know what, I'm going to end up going back. So he finds a way to get back. Right, probably has to take a ship to get all the way back. Gets back to his dad, and he's thinking in his mind, he's like, you know what? I'm thinking about, I'm just gonna just throw my myself at the mercy of my dad. Dad, I messed up. I shouldn't have did this. I shouldn't have done that. Please take me back. So as he was coming over the hill, obviously as a dad or a mom, his dad was actually waiting out on the second floor, and he was just every night, this kid was gone for months, and he's looking at to see if his son is going to come over the hill, walk back, right? He knows what his son was doing because probably the dad was doing it before he finally woke up, right, and started doing the right thing. He repented, he changed his thinking, and so he can. So just like the previous 3 or 4 or 5 months before that, the dad was looking over as the sun was setting, and all of a sudden he sees a young man 300 yards away, right, and all of a sudden he says that's got to be my son. So he runs down the steps, runs out there, and runs towards his son. And his son finally sees him, right? And then his son, immediately when he sees his dad, obviously he's bawling. He was like, "Dad, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I did this. I shouldn't have never disobeyed you." And guess what, guys? Guess what he did? So his dad didn't even, he knew what his son was doing, right? Oh my gosh. He didn't even ask him the question. Okay. Like I said before, that means the dad probably did that in his past, right? But he was forgiven, right? Anyway, he was washed, he was cleansed. And so um, he said, "Son, get up." And so he hugged his son took off his ring. Now, if you look up royalty dealing with rings, royalty has everything to do with power. Okay, might, power, the ability to control. It means it's the ring of authority. Okay, and some positions and just in government who have authority. Okay, um, and so he put a robe on him, and so they're walking back to the mansion, and guess what? He had his servants or his employees that helped him out and said, bring, let's make a dinner for my son. He's been gone from me for a while. So this older brother hears all this commotion, and they're having a party because the younger son is back, right? The prodigal son, the lavish son, the extravagant son, the riotous son. And lo and behold, this is his little brother, and he asked one of the servants, he's like, what's going on? He's like, your little brother's back. And his older brother was like, what? He's back and they're having a party for him? He said, I've been serving. He was angry. He didn't go into the party, right? So after about 15, 20 minutes, man, they're eating that turkey, they're chowing down, they're having a hold down, they're getting down, right? They're boogie down, right? And just depending upon what age you are, they doing the shindig, whatever area you're from, whatever background you're from, just plug in the word, okay? They're partying hard, okay, because he's back. It's excitement, okay, and so his older brother didn't come into the party, so the dad is like, hey, why aren't you in there celebrating with me? He was like, Dad, I did everything you asked me to do. Now I want you to listen to this. I used to thought it was the younger brother. There is something in the younger brother, okay, and so he's like, Dad, I served you, I obeyed you, right? And you never held a party for me. He said, son, listen to me. Man, I hope you get this. Oh my gosh, it took me years to get this. I've heard a lot of pastors say this on the stage. I've heard a lot of people. Nobody got this from any religion. Okay, very few people got this. Okay, so this is wisdom right here. And so most people think it was the prodigal son. Okay, now there is, like I said before, pearls in there, things you can pull from that. Okay, but it was actually about the older brother. Okay, so there was an inheritance. Okay, he obeyed his dad. The older son he had access to everything. Okay, access to everything. Listen to me. This is how much we've been programmed for destruction. We've been programmed, I'm talking about mankind as a whole, been programmed to self hatred, self destruction, self cancellation, self harm. Okay, that's why suicide is up there in many different ways, right? And that definitely hurts when you have our government that actually targets you to they call it voice to skull. Um, be careful, voice to the back of your skull to send messages to your skull, right? You didn't know that technology existed. Stuff existed 30, 40 years ago. Okay, and let me give you a tip. The technology that you see today already was discovered 30, 40, 50 years ago. Okay, but I'm gonna leave that at that right there. You can just file the money. Okay, um, it's not new. There's nothing new under the sun. Okay, okay. So let me get back over here. Um, so he had access to everything. And most people, out of, let's say, 120 billion people since the first man. Now, check this out. I would say probably 10% of the people, if I were to ask you a question, hey, I'm a trillionaire, you're my child. Okay. And if I were to say, all right, hey, I'm going to give you $5 million I'm just going to give it to you. Okay. Or would you like to have access to my account based upon obedience? Okay. And or based upon, obedience, uh, being forgiven or forgiving, follow me now. Okay. Obedience, forgiving, and being teachable. Those three things. Do you know most people, probably 80 to 90% of people say, man, just give me the 5 million, I'm out. Okay. Here's the problem with that. Once that 5 million is out, And you can do research on this. Most people that have had that type of money, most people don't even know how to grow that money. Okay. Okay. Not everybody, but most people don't, right? Because of this right here. They don't have control over this land. It's 6 inches of land that we've been given. Okay. Now, check this out. So I learned I would rather have access to the $1 trillion, access to the account. Why? Because anytime I need it, I can ask my father, right? I can go to him as long as I what? Obey, follow the laws, right? I'm teachable, willing to learn. Okay, right? Everybody's worked for somebody. Most people that are listening to me now work for somebody, right? You got to follow the policies if you're in corporate America, right? If you run your own business, right? There's certain things you still have to adhere to, right? And then the third thing is you got to be forgiving, right? Forgiving of other people, right? Don't take things personal all the time. And then you got to be forgiving for yourself. Okay. So I wish I'd have known that 30 years ago, 35 years ago. Okay. So that was the most important lesson right there. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get into that, to this right here. Okay. So increase your value. All right. So hopefully you guys can see that from within. Okay, the first word I'm going to get into, I just broke it down, is I want to get into etymology, okay? Because most of us don't know that. We were not taught that. We were supposed to be taught that, but that's why most of us are dumb and just what words mean, the origin of words, and words mean everything. You know what I'm saying? People's ideas run and rule everything. Okay. We operate out of ideas. Okay. We see it, we have an idea of ourself. Okay. That idea, listen to me now, actually leaks into other areas of our life. How we treat ourselves, which means how we treat our helpmate, our mate, right? The world calls husband and wife, how you treat your kids, um, finances, how you manage resources, everything comes out of that. Okay. Now, understanding ideas. Matter of fact, most of the world is run by a democratic republic, right? So that came from the Greeks. They were philosophers, right? They're Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, who came up with a lot of those ideas, if not all of them. They're not here anymore in the flesh, right? So guess what? Their ideas still run true today. Okay. Now check this out. Okay. I looked up something as simple as this, the word increase. Most people don't know the origin of increase, uh, as far as where to originate from, is actually Middle English. Okay. And trust me, the English that we were taught in school, that's not real English. Okay. Remember, you got to keep the masses dumb. All right. They just have to follow orders, don't question authority. That's how you dumb down masses of people, and that's how you can jip them, right? That's how people are getting ripped off 24/7, 365. Okay, so write this down, increase, okay? And then the origin of that is Middle English, okay? It's derived from Old French. It means to grow, okay? Remember, I talked about the seed. I said you and I are a seed, right? Physically, we were a seed, okay? I don't have to spell that out physically, right? We were planted into our mother and we incubated in there, right? Um, Words are seeds that are dropped into our mind, right? When you are reading a book, when you are listening to media, watching TV, whatever it is, when you're talking with your friends, they're implanting seeds into your mind. Now, my question to you is, what kind of seeds are they implanting? What kind of seeds are you allowing to be implanted in your mind when you are listening to rap or rock and roll? Or now there's can be rap and rock and roll, but it can be on the positive side, right? Not downing women, right? Because chances, guess what? You came out of a woman, a man with a womb, right? Which is the doorway to this planet. Think about that, right? This is stuff we don't think about. We just trash. It's crazy. Because we don't know who we are, we trash our spirits, right? We allow anything inside of it through our eye gates, our ear gates. We trash our soul, mind, will, emotions, and intellect. and we trash our body. No wonder people end up sick, right? Okay. Just something I want you to think about. Okay. So it means to grow, become greater, becoming greater in size. Okay. So that tree that you have in your yard right now, right? That big tree, maybe in the back seat, and you're listening to me. Maybe you're outside on your deck listening to me. Maybe you're underground listening to me. Maybe you're in, I don't know, maybe in the big tower listening to me. Okay. Now, that tree that you drove by today, think of the biggest tree started in the ground, okay, from one seed, okay? All mankind came through one man, right? And woman. Okay, think about that. So increase means to becoming greater in size. In order to do that, what do we have to do? It's very simple. Okay. We have to put the right stuff in. Well, let me back up. We have to cap the negative and then we have to put the right stuff in, right? Okay. We have to write down our goals, or how about our objectives rather than goals? Okay. Write down your objectives, right? What do you want to accomplish today? Okay. Don't throw away your time. You don't get tomorrow. I mean, you don't get today back ever again, right? Many people aren't guaranteed tomorrow. People aren't guaranteed 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, right? As I'm talking through this last 30 something minutes, guess what? There's people that have passed. There's people that have been murdered. There's people that had accidental death. There's people that have been killed, right? They didn't know today was their last day, okay? Um, so what's your legacy going to be, okay? So increase, that's what that means. Now, the word your is Old English. It means let me put that in the chat box. It means I bet you didn't know this. EOWER. That means your. How do you say that? Eor? Your. That's Old English. It denotes possession, control, or association. When you say that's your box, your TV, that's your phone, it's your this, whatever it is. Okay. So it says, let me read that again. It says denotes possession, control, or association. Okay. So the onus is on you and I. We get to control, right? This, but it's all based upon this. Okay. Now, control means it has to do with power. Okay. Power is the ability to control circumstances. That's what everybody's looking for. All the religions that people running through, jumping in around, back and forth and looking for, it's because mankind understands that we've been missing our power. Okay. We've been enslaved spiritually, mentally, physically. Okay. You can be free, so to speak, physically, but you can still be in bondage mentally, right? And spiritually. Man, I hope you get this, man. It's going to take a little bit of time, guys. Okay. So the next word is value. Okay. Value. Have you ever looked this up? Value. I mean, it's Old French. It means worth, price, moral worth. Okay. You can't have a moral worth unless you have a moral comforts. So, right. You have to have a moral reference. I think I just made up a word, but anyway, my blood sugar may be a little bit low. But anyway, so moral worth. So you can't have any worth if you don't understand, or should I say, overstand, right? Fully understand, which means overstand, that you have to have a moral reference. Okay. That goes back to what? Why am I here? What's your origin? Or should I say, where am I from? That's your origin. Okay. If you don't have the right origin, all this doesn't matter. Okay. Nothing doesn't matter because you believe yourself to be something that you actually truly aren't. Okay. And that's easy to do with people, right? Because we're all programmable by this right here. All right. So value. So moral worth traces back to the Latin. It means to be strong, be well, be of value. Man, that is powerful if you just think on that. Golly, my gosh, man. See, nobody can value as much as you can, right? Your mom, your dad, they can value very highly, right? But when you understand those 5 questions, your value of how you see yourself will go through the roof, right? You won't let people take advantage of you. You won't let just things pass by, right? Always, all the time. You see what I'm saying? You'll have guidelines, you'll have borders, you'll have, you'll set up boundaries, okay? Um, Also, here, let me break this down to the word value because this is very important. Don't chase money, chase value. Increase your value and money will follow you. It's a law, okay? The law of value, okay? Hopefully, you wrote that down. Now, here's another acronym for value: victory as long as you embrace, okay? When you increase your value from within, when you learn how to do that, because you have to learn it, listen to me now, you have to learn it. You'll have victory as long as you embrace it. Okay. You embrace what I'm telling you. Okay. Man, I wish somebody had told me this when I was much younger. Okay. Here's another acronym: virtue. Virtue means moral integrity. Okay. You're only as good as your word. Okay. If your word's no good, then you're no good. I don't care how much money you have. If you're a liar, cheating, deceiver, whatever it is, guess what? That's who you are, right? And I already know where you're going to end up at. Okay. All right. So, all right, here we go. But do you know where you're going to end up at? Okay. Because you got to remember the Bible is not a religious book about Christianity. The Bible is what? It's a legal document, it's a constitution of a country. Okay. Now, okay, virtue. So you got virtue, achievement. This is all talking about value. Achievement means completion. Go ahead and write that down. Longevity, L, means length or duration. And then the word, and then the letter U, and then elevate, I put in there. Lift up, to elevate. So virtue, achievement, longevity, you elevate. So when you have morals and integrity, right, you'll complete a lot of things in life, right? Because you learned about the laws of each area: relationships, finances, everything, the law of management, right? And there's things under the law of management you got to learn how to manage. Then you'll have longevity, right? Okay. Virtue also could be character too. And then you, the person, me, you will elevate. You'll be lifted up. Those laws will lift you up. See, most people, here's what I learned. Most people are trying to get people to approve them when if they learn what I just told them, what I'm doing in the process of doing, ing, doing means progressive. I'm progressively going like this, okay? Um, then these laws will lift you up. Oh my gosh. You don't have to chase after money. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You don't have to chase after prestige and all that type of stuff. Okay? My Lord. All right, here's the last but not least. I need to wrap this up. So from, write down the word from. From means beginning and origin. Now, didn't we just talk about origin before? Original, origin, right? Beginning. Okay. Beginning. That's what Genesis means. Beginning. Moses, a Hebrew prophet, talked a lot about that. Okay. The beginning. Okay. Most people don't know that's one of the 5 questions. See, I'm telling you. See, this is the stuff I picked up, man. Gosh, I wish I'd have known this, man. I'm telling you, the people who do this and apply it, my gosh, I'm so excited. I want to read your book when you write that #1 bestseller. When you come up with that idea, when you come up with that amazing song that's going to uplift people. When you come up with that amazing, when you become that amazing poet, when you become that amazing sports figure, mechanic, whatever it is, banker. lawyer, because we need some really good lawyers, okay? Really good bankers. Integrity filled, right? Virtue, right? Honesty. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic in itself. So from means beginning or origin. Okay. Now the last word within. Okay. It's a grammatical construct. Okay. Two words combined to one. It means it's an old English word and it means from within against the inside. Okay. So if you're against the inside of something, right? Let's say you're inside of um, a team huddle, you play sports, right? And you're leaning against your buddy, right? You're inside the huddle, but you're against something. Let's say, I may not be a good example. What's another example I can say? Let's say you're inside, you get in this big box, okay, and you're leaning against the wall, okay. So what does that mean from within you? If you understand these laws that I'm laying out here to you, write them down, think on them, meditate on them, apply them little by little, guess what's going to happen? Well, guess what? That seed has to grow. It has an right environment to grow. Okay. So I'm done, guys. You guys have a great rest of your week. Obviously, I'm going to come back here next Tuesday. I may pop in here, Friday or Saturday as I see fit. But another thing I would tell you to go do is go purchase is go pop this right here, the Magic of Thinking Big. This right here, wherever you are in life, will increase your mentality as long as you cap your negative, right? And when you do that, you increase your positive. It's going to automatically go up. Your self-image is going to go up on how you see yourself. And the sky's the limit. I don't care if you're 60. I don't care if you're 80. I don't care if you're 16. I don't care if you're 10. It doesn't matter. And everybody in between. Okay. Because nobody's going to do it unless you do it. Okay. So I'm divulging this information for now for free. And I'm letting you know the things that you won't be taught in school. Your boss is not going to tell you tomorrow. Right. Your whatever, your partner, your colleague, your professor, whatever. Most of this stuff is not taught in that. Okay. So anyway, if you're new, go ahead and please hit that like button and hit that subscription button also to go ahead and subscribe. I appreciate that. And also, just as important, go over to Instagram. I put my link in there. Please follow me there. I have a bunch of stuff on there. So don't forget, guys. Hopefully you wrote down those 5 important questions. You got to answer those questions, because if not, you're just wasting time. 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, right? It'll never come back ever again. And you don't want to be 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 120, and you're just living in all these different regrets. Okay. So increase your value from within. So the power is actually inside of you. Stop looking outside of there, outside of yourself. Okay. Your future is not ahead of you, it's actually trapped on the inside of you. You just have to cap the negative, and you have to put your seed, you, in the right environment, and it automatically is going to grow, because you have the law of seed time and harvest time. You guys have a great night.